It was the loudest sporting event I've ever been to.
You remember that
And
spontaneous eruption? It was just
yeah, that was
spontaneous.
insane. But 2 seconds later, you could hear a pin drop in that place. But by the time they actually played that,
All right. But you can feel that tension rising, and it is broken by the point, the culmination of which is the roar of the crowd.
I think whatever we can do to get the fans the most riled up, I think is going to be solid for the sport. If you're playing pickleball more than once a week, creatine should be a part of your routine. It's a part of mine, and it's not just for muscles, obviously, but it fuels your brain as well. Strength, recovery, focus. It's like putting premium gas into your tank. Momentous just made it easy with their new creatine lemon Creapure from Germany. No fillers, NSF certified for sport, so you know it's clean. The new lemon travel packs taste like lemonade and mix in just seconds. So go to livemomentous.com, use code THEDINK, and save up to 35% on your first order. That's code THEDINK at livemomentous.com. Play harder, recover faster, and stay sharp with Momentous. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pickle Pod. I am back home in Austin for the first time in a couple of weeks, and it feels great to be back. And we had, obviously, last week the Major League Pickleball Finals, and I thought that there was going to be a little bit of a hangover effect. But holy crap, do we have a ton of stuff to talk about from PPA Las Vegas. We've got the obvious Anna Leigh Waters and Anna Bright upset. We've got Looch winning his second title in a row. We've got Anna Bright's mixed doubles lobfest. Christian firing Leigh Waters, or they're separating. We've even got information on PPA Asia, including big Tyler Leung upsets and Connor Garnett's Triple Crown. We've got APP Chicago with some Terrell Owens playing and some double golds from some newcomers. Rules controversies at the PPA Las Vegas event. And we also have Alex Geesbreght from the LA Mad Drop's new ownership group. And I'm going to ask him the hard questions about the trade deadline fiasco and getting Ben Johns and, you know, taking controlling interest of the LA Mad Drop. We have so much to cover this week. I'm also going to get to your questions as well, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Pickle Pod, the newest Major League Pickleball owner, Alex Geesbreght. We just went through how to say the name because it's a little bit unconventional, but you are now, the majority owner of the LA Mad Drops?
Our group is, yes.
Nice. And who else is a part of that group?
It's really just a amalgamation of very, very close friends and family. I've got a lot of buddies that I've been in YPO with for a long time, and then just people that I know and trust. And we have an old saying in everything that we do is do what you know and love with those whom you know and love. And I think this is an extension of that.
I love it. And is Chris Cantino somehow a part of that group?
Chris is part of our partnership, the Good Alpha, so the original owners. And so we're now partners with them, and Chris is, I'd say we have a really big umbrella, and we're all sort of one big partnership now.
Gotcha. Interesting, because Chris is actually the person that brought this together, and I chatted with you in New York City. You didn't understand the bet that we had because you didn't make the bet that we had.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I thought about that later. I apologize. You were probably like, what was going on? Yeah, he spoke on my behalf, maybe a bit prematurely, but I probably owe you something.
So for those of you guys who don't know, the LA Mad Drops and the New Jersey Fives played each other in New York, and we'd been talking about having Alex on the podcast a little bit to sort of break the news about the new ownership group. And Chris volunteered to, without Alex's knowledge, that if the Mad Drops win, I have to do this segment in a LA Mad Drops green mullet. And if the Fives win, Alex had to do the segment in a clown nose the entire time. And only Chris and I were in on this, so we had no idea. I wasn't going to force you to do that if Chris is making bets on your behalf.
Yeah. I think there's something about having to be party to a contract before being held liable and responsible for it. So
that feels reasonable. So anyway, what did you see? Why get involved with Major League Pickleball?
So originally, first of all, I don't think that my answer to that question, Zane, is really all that original. Everybody that I talk to says it's how unifying the sport is, and I love it, and I'm passionate about it. I like the team aspect of it. it's all of those things. I think what I'll do is share with you just how it originally started for me, and that is probably up until 5, 6 years ago, I was always able to be very active. I could play in my amateur baseball league, I could play indoor soccer, I could play golf. And tennis waved bye-bye to me a long time ago because I've had 2 right wrist surgeries, 2 right shoulder surgeries. So I was just looking for a way to get some exercise. Some buddies of mine started playing pickleball a little over a year ago, and we went out there, and I was just having so much fun. It wasn't that great, but I mean, I you could pick it up like everybody. And secondly, that's just data point number 1. Number 2 is that we're very close with my aunt and uncle who are 81. And I'll give you this anecdote because it's a real answer to what was the catalyst for getting involved. My uncle Jim, whom I love very much, was kind of doing the 80-year-old shuffle about a little over a year ago, spending a lot of time on his phone and kind of shuffling from here to there. We got him out onto the pickleball court with my mother-in-law, with his wife, my aunt. I'm not kidding you, Zane. They play now 3 to 4 times a week. They have purpose. That's what they talk about. They're running for balls. It is incredibly inspiring. So about 6 months ago, true story, my daughter was back from school. We were on a court playing, my 19-year-old daughter, 53-year-old wife, 81-year-old uncle, and myself. And we're playing 11-9 games. And I'm sitting there and I go, where else can you do this? Where else could you get these 4 people and compete uh, and have so much fun? So it's the same result and the same answer as everybody else says. It's unifying and all this other stuff. But for us, it was very personal. And so probably a week after that epiphany is I called a guy that I have done, um, a private equity guy, and I said, how do I get involved in pickleball? And am I too late to get into an ownership position? He said, I don't know, but I know people who do. And we found some people very fortunate. And we were so fortunate to find Zubin and his team and his group, just great, wonderful people.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I've known Zubin for a while, and I actually had a similar experience in pickleball. First couple of times were me playing with my dad and getting my butt kicked by some guys who were 25 years older than my dad in their 60s and 70s. So it is pretty unique in that regard. But now you aren't you're not from the LA area though, are you? Or
We're
am I
not.
mistaken on that?
I'm not. No, you're not mistaken. We do spend a lot of time there. So our home is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
We're those Texans that love California, though. Have spent a lot of time. Used to spend a lot of time in Santa Monica, and then now have a place down in Dana Point. So we're there, and we're so looking forward to integrating into the area because LA is a big place. It's almost an idea. More than a place, and so it has a lot of surrounding areas that we think we can become involved in and lift the level of pickleball and grow the sport. Obviously, grow the Mad Drops, but grow the league as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody acknowledges that home and away matches at some point in the future and being able to grow in
Yes.
the local community is a
Yes.
huge part of things. So, welcome to the MLP squad. I don't know
Thank
how
you.
these numbers end up getting out there, but it sounds like the valuation is of these franchises at this point is somewhere between 13 and 16 million dollars because we had that Palm Beach Royals team
Yeah.
sold or sold from the league just a couple of weeks ago. um, can you speak to that?
Well, I sure wish I had gotten into it in 2021. I can say that with
Yeah, same.
the people that were a lot smarter than I was at the time, jumped on that. And I think it's the nature of professional sports. And anytime you have sort of something that it is or is soon going to be a closed loop, especially if you have the interest that you have from celebrities, some are more involved than others. Like for them to be more involved, you have engaged and maybe not engaged owners. Although the ones I've met have been very engaged. And so when you have that and then ultimately you have a great product. You have a thing that everybody looks at and can watch being played at its highest level, but also can go do themselves from 8 to 80. That's a very unique sport, and I think it can't help but grow over time. And especially when the loop does finally become closed, I think the valuations going up is not going to be the issue. I think figuring out a way to drive revenue and to grow the actual value, not just the perceived value of the team, is going to be a real challenge, and it's one we certainly look forward to.
Yeah, so you're talking about, the fundamentals of the business
Correct.
rather than just the valuation. And I'm curious about your background as well. I actually just I don't know how you made the, 13, 15 million dollars that you and your buddies need to put together this let's just say my buddies and I can't buy a Major League Pickleball team from my pro pickleball salary. Like, what's your business background? How did you end up in this position where you're able to make these sort of investments?
We won the lottery. You didn't know that? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We didn't win the lottery.
I have no idea. You coulda
I
you
know,
you
guys. You know
told
what?
me, I would have believed
I
you.
should have just sold it. No. First of all, it's not just me. I mean, at all. It is. Here's what's interesting, Zane, is that I didn't ask a single person to be a part of this. Not a single person.
I'm
We
sure you
started
had people knocking at the door.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, I didn't ask anybody. I did wind up having to say no because we just wanted we just had to say no. But we have some wonderful people. I don't really know how to answer your question other than specifically my background. I can speak to mine. A long time ago, I used to be an attorney. My wife and I met when I was still in law school. She was a practicing attorney. Practiced law for a little while and then got into business and got into healthcare in particular and got to run a couple companies with my brother. Continue to work with him now in our business, Prax. And then I run our small family office, nothing too sexy, I don't think. But I will tell you that my focus is going to be on the LA Mad Drops going forward. I think this is just not just a fascinating thing to be a part of, but it's a fascinating business. It really is.
Yeah, definitely, and it's something new where you can,
Yeah.
I mean, you can shape what this entire league looks like. If you come up with some novel idea in the pro pickleball team space, right? It's probably going to become the norm, and I do think that that's part of some problem with having celebrity or like very high profile owners is that a lot of times this is their eighth or ninth priority, and
Yeah.
so like it's nice to have somebody coming in that and just hearing that like yeah this is gonna be number one for you. So
Can I just speak to that very quickly?
absolutely.
Um, you know, first of all, I've heard that there are incredibly engaged owners and that there may also be some who are not as engaged. First of all, that's pretty normal standard curve. First of all, the ones I've met have been incredibly engaged, maybe because they're at the events and
Yeah,
we've been
that's
going.
the key
That's
word.
probably it.
That's what do they call that? That's some sampling bias for
That's
sure.
true. That is true. That's true. Uh, One of the things that I really look forward to doing is meeting all of them and encouraging all of them, whether they got in for a ham sandwich or they got in for what we got into for. That now we all have an obligation, whether we wanted it or not, or whether it was intentional or not. We now sit here with something special, and we have something special that a lot of people are relying on us to make successful and to grow. And I think it's a privilege. First of all, I think there are a lot of people that would love to be in our position, and I think it's an obligation. I would encourage those that haven't been as involved heretofore to get that way.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, look, we're steering the ship for not just your own individual franchises, but for what professional pickleball is going to
Yeah,
look like. And honestly, for the sake of professional pickleball in general,
yeah,
it's not a sport that we can say with certainty is going to survive at the professional
yeah,
level, right? We need things to go in a certain way for this to be sustainable. At this point, the leagues are losing more money than they're generating. And the growth metrics are looking good. Otherwise, you and your partners wouldn't be throwing the business in or throwing the money into it. But like we're still at a point where we're losing more money than we're
yeah.
making. And it takes individual owners stepping up and doing stuff like that to have some long-term success in the league. So I understand that entirely.
Zane, can I ask you, as a player, and I know you have such a broad breadth of not only experience but involvement in the league and what you do and your reach. From your sense, do you think that the players are happy with the MLP? I've seen you opine on things that you would change. Are you speaking for the players when you say that, or are those your sort of personal opinions?
That's an interesting question. I think I could probably do a better job of providing context around that. Sometimes these are just my own individual thoughts. Like I posted this video about what I would do if I was commissioner with complete power
Yeah,
over Major League Pickleball, and these are mostly my own opinions. Now, in the role of president of the pro player committee as well, now I when I speak in that hat, it's much more on behalf of the player body. I do think that everybody on the tour, all 188 signed players or whatever it is at this point, have their own individual, preferences, right? Some people are going to like PPA better. Some people are going to like MLP better. Some people just don't care. And I think that overall, this season of Major League Pickleball did feel better for more players, in my opinion. That is what I am picking up from the tour. There are still players that are upset being on teams where the owner doesn't care.
hmm,
Um,
hmm,
and I do think that the league does need to do a couple of things about this. My opinion is I think, and it's nice because this isn't my money that I'm throwing around, but it is something that I think is important for competitive balance in the league. In the NBA, the teams need to pay a certain percentage of the salary cap, and if they fall below that, they're penalized for it.
Mhm.
I do think we need to provide some anti-tanking guidelines or procedures within
Some
Major League
floors,
Pickleball
some
because
floors. Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's livelihoods, right? If you get stuck on a team that's not paying any money, you're missing out on what's going to be $1 million per team of prize money next year,
yeah, yeah,
and that's really tough as a competitor to stay like active and stay like appreciative of that. And we're also in a league where all right, if you're in the MLB and you sign a deal with the Athletics or the White Sox, you know what you're getting into at this
yeah,
point. You don't have any say in this as a player at this point. You might say like, "Hey, don't pick me up" or whatever, but you can't just not sign that deal,
yeah.
right? So I do think there needs to be a little bit more protection around what I perceive as tanking from league owners.
Well, I'll tell you, I think I've always liked your perspective. I think I think it's maybe not completely unbiased, but I think it's been fair. And I think that while
I'll
you
never
can't
claim
live,
to be unbiased. I
yeah,
have
no,
my
well,
biases. I do try to
bias,
disclose the biases at least.
sure, and bias doesn't mean wrong. And so I think everybody would be wise to sort of consider all informed responses and suggestions. So yeah, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I would love it if you'd provide more context for all that, and when you do them, because I think you serve a real purpose for the MLP
Yeah, no, that's a good
and for
point.
pickleball in general.
I should clarify my opinion, and also, there's things that I throw out there sometimes that I think would be cool, but not realistic as well.
Sure.
And I think full context behind that things is important. Um, yeah. So
So, I'll tell you this, I went to New York, and, New York obviously went to New York. I went to Vegas, which was PPA, and by the way,
Mhm.
I'm high on all of it, PPA, MLP. I'm obviously biased toward the MLP, and I wasn't sure. It is sort of interesting when I first got into and was considering MLP, we talked to Samin about expansion, we talked to other teams, and it just became incredibly apparent to us that our landing spot and the best fit for us was with Samin, with Zubin and his team with LA. But I remember being somewhat critical months ago about the MLP almost having this WWE feel to it. And it was interesting to see and to feel this juxtaposition when I went to a PPA event on the heels of New York. And I was almost like afraid to clap at first because like somebody would get a point and I was so used to the MLP, which is all I'd known. And I literally asked somebody, is it okay if can we clap? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And everybody loosened up by like Saturday afternoon, certainly Sunday. But it has a totally different feel. And I, for one, am excited. And I see now the wisdom of making the MLP sort of different from the PPA. And it is a different fan experience and it's a lot of fun.
yeah, definitely. Hey, that's the beautiful part of having two different
Yeah.
organizations under one umbrella, right?
Yeah.
You can, and I think we need to differentiate more. Uh, my opinion, not speaking for anybody else other than me, but I think we should encourage cheering during points at Major League Pickleball. I think that it's only a distraction to players if it's quiet and then something happens, right? Like we had at the PPA this weekend, Christian Alshon stopped the point at 9-7 in game 3 because a cell phone went off in the
Mm,
background. And
yeah.
like at a PPA, I'd say, yeah, that's probably right, but it was dead silent. If everybody's yapping, talking, whatever, and a cell phone goes off, he's not even noticing that, right? It's not
Yeah.
even a thought in the back of his mind that that might be a replay or a hinder or distraction or whatever the hell it's called. I think we should go full bore at MLP, and that is my
Wow.
opinion, not any other player's opinion.
Okay, well, I'm going to officially, respectfully disagree, and here's why. So, growing up playing a lot of baseball, my experience, not only being a player, but being a fan, and I'm fine with it. I understand that there's about 10 things that happen in between each pitch. But in terms of excitement, if I were to go to a baseball game with my wife will maybe be interested 4 or 5 times during the course of a 9 inning game. That's really tough to build a fan base that didn't grow up playing and understanding baseball. The difference with pickleball is that there is tension every point. In those moments of silence that where there's maybe it's a little protracted, the dinking back and forth sometimes, but you can feel that tension rising and it is broken by the point, the culmination of which is the roar of the crowd. So to me, if you were to have just sort of ambient noise during that, it would decrease that general feeling of tension building where you have that release. And one of the things that people, especially with short attention spans, of which I'm one, I think it's an engaging sport because of the tension and the release on a continuous basis.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a perspective that I haven't thought about before. Like, I remember that Dallas event where it was roaring before we played, where before Anna Lee and Catherine at 2020. It was the loudest sporting event I've ever been to,
You remember that
and
spontaneous eruption? It was just
yeah, that was
spontaneous.
insane. But 2 seconds later, you could hear a pin drop in that place.
Right,
But by the time
right,
they actually played that,
right.
I think whatever we can do to get fans the most riled up, I think
Yeah,
is going to be solid for the sport. And I appreciate that different perspective. I haven't thought about like the building tension and the release of tension and whatnot. We get that sometimes during points. People gasp when the ball
right,
clips the net.
right.
Nothing gets a crowd riled up more than a net dribbler that goes over and somebody gets. So there's like bits and pieces of it, and you can start to hear it. But you still do have some form of tension and release in NBA games, right? Like the ball goes up, it gets silent, and
That's
then
true.
they erupt, whether it's a made shot or not. In the NFL, you've got like, hey, you want to be quiet while your team is on offense. You want to be super loud while your team is on defense. Maybe there's some element of strategy for a home team that we could implement, right?
That is true. That's true. Although I would say so I don't know how to counter that from an NFL standpoint. I would say from an NBA standpoint, there's a lot of unintentional movement. I mean, unimportant, unintentional, I'm not really sure. Not every play has to go in. I mean, if you're dribbling and bringing up the court. So until it becomes the actual play that's being executed, there's a lot of sort of, okay, come up, bring it up to half court, unless they're pressing or something like that. So there's this constant noise. I don't know. I think I would. It would be hard for me to go with you on that. I really like the quiet. I like the silence. I like the tension building, and I love the release.
Hey, then we got
We can
PPA
agree
and
to
MLP.
disagree.
We can go with
Yeah.
both of them. Yeah, I understand your argument as well. I don't think that my side has been. Maybe it's one event, right? Maybe we've got a waste management open at the
Oh,
PPA, right?
right. Right.
I just think that like I love the idea of tinkering, experimenting, all
Yeah.
of this stuff, and I'm also like pretty okay with being wrong, right? But
Hmm.
I'm not okay being wrong until it's been disproved, essentially. So, pivoting slightly, I gotta ask you a couple of tougher questions surrounding end of year trade deadline and the acquisition of Ben,
Yeah.
right? And I'll preface this by saying people were throwing around the collusion term within the league, blah 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 blah. I don't think that
People
was.
being you as one of them, right?
I
Sort of.
defended you guys. Listen, I defended that. I
You know what? You
said
did
that
something really interesting. You had, and we're just gonna. It's on. He was on Ross, who, by the way, I've met and I really like. Um, but you had him on, and he said all of the right things after that unfortunate tweet. And then you sort of went along with it, and then you kind of goaded him a little bit more, and then the floodgates came back open. So I appreciate that. That's what you do, and that's what you have to do. But you were slightly responsible for sort of giving that a little life. Is that not fair?
yeah, I am gonna talk about the interesting things, and that's why we're bringing this up a
Okay.
month later, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, like we're gonna talk about what I find interesting and get to the bottom of it. But I also said alongside that, like, I don't think that it was. I think that's an interesting question to ask whether there was collusion when you look at the parties involved. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I also said, like, I don't see why this deal for Ben Johns needed to be done, needed to extend to the trade line to do it, right? I
Yeah.
don't think that this all came to fruition immediately after the initial trade deadline happened. And I think that anything that happens within pickleball is absolutely the most conflicted sport that you could possibly have. Everybody's
Yeah.
got business dealings with somebody else.
Yeah.
You've got the league owners owning teams, team owners owning multiple teams, players owning teams. Like everywhere you look, there's a bigger conflict of interest than at the last point. I'm curious, like from your perspective, what do you have to say about, let's say, the rumors that I brought to light? Then
Yeah. I mean, it's a really boring answer. There's just no way that there was any collusion. Nobody really believes that. I mean, you think about the people, it sort of cuts both ways. You think about the people that were involved. What are the chances that those people would actually collude? I mean, that's a kind of a serious word when you think about it. Um, it has meaning, and if you consider what that meaning is, and consider the people involved and whether or not they would risk their reputation, personal, professional, and otherwise, for that, there's zero chance. So I'm sorry, it's not. It's a very unsatisfying answer, but there was absolutely none. I actually think the deal was or was close to being done prior to. I think probably if there's a criticism, is that we maybe could have announced it a little earlier or something just to avoid any perception. But obviously there's no collusion whatsoever. And as I think you pointed out fairly at one point, it had to do with some rules clarification. That was the reason for the extension. It didn't give anybody an unfair advantage that somebody else didn't have, right? If you look at it in that way. So even if it had happened afterwards, it really wouldn't have given anybody an unfair advantage, which really comes down to. So I don't really know where the collusion could have taken place, but I can assure you it didn't.
Yeah, I gotcha. I came down for the record, I came down on the side of optically didn't look good, but
Sure.
probably
Okay.
not collusion. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
um,
Fair.
fair enough. All right. Well, one last question for you before we wrap it up. How have you enjoyed your couple of weeks with the Mad Drops ownership and yeah, you keeping Ben on the roster for next year as well with the
But you just go right for it. Just go right for that. Yes. I mean, I mean, when you have Ben Johns, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Not keep him? I think he's pretty
so
good.
you're
You've
so
heard
you're
of Ben
saying it was
Johns,
a
right?
dumb question, which it kind of was, but I
Yeah, but I
had to
mean,
ask.
you've heard of Ben Johns. Like he's good.
I'm more of a John Benz fan, but yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's a good player. I haven't followed pickleball for that long. I know we're really excited. We love our team, love the people on our team. And that's I'm not just saying that. And as to the last couple of weeks, um, I have had a lot of fun, but I'll give you a real honest answer. I did not have much fun losing to you guys. I didn't. Well, I mean, and that sort of seems obvious, but that was not fun. Let me tell you what was fun about 10 minutes afterwards. About 10 minutes afterwards, I started to think about how to beat you. And I assumed that when you guys exited, you started thinking about how to beat everybody else. And to me, that's fun. And we will be better, more prepared, and I'm sure that you and the rest of the teams will be as well. And I think that I think that's fun. So I've had a blast, but I think fun in business and professional sports is a little bit kind of like God in church, where it's kind of where you want to end up. I mean, it's kind of the point, but there's a lot of details and a lot of things to do and a lot of work before the fun. And so, to me, I've had a blast learning. I have a lot more to learn, and fortunately, I have a wonderful partner and wonderful partners from whom to learn all of that stuff, and I look forward to
Yeah.
it.
Well, a lot of the fun is in the process too. You know that
Absolutely.
from building businesses as well. So, Alex, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was nice chatting with you. I like it when a guest gives me a little bit of pushback too, because I find like those are the more interesting conversations too. So
Mm,
I appreciate you, and I'm sure this won't be the last time.
Man, I sure appreciate the invite and anytime, Zane. Thanks so much.
All right, I'm gonna answer a few different questions from Twitter. We do this every week, so I appreciate everybody who tossed in a couple of questions here. We had some interesting ones. Joey Jojo Jr. Shabodo asks, "Is anybody using the boomstick?" I think most of the Selkirk players are. Pickleball Changes Lives asks, "Who would want to see a pro tournament where every player uses original wooden paddles?" Well, we have that in Sacramento in September. Hope Klein asks, "The rollout mats have such an impact on the games. How can MLP and PPA do better?" I do think that the lifetime ball helps because it makes the ball bounce a little bit more. And I think we've got a trade off, right? You get to go to cooler places when you can put the rollout courts down, but you also get worse pickleball, unfortunately. Sophia Petrillo asked 3 questions, but I'm going to only answer the most interesting one, which was the third question. If conjoined twins played pickleball, would they be counted as a doubles team or could they have a partner? I let her know that that is the best question yet. And I think they've got to. That's a wild question. I mean, like, they have 2 social security numbers, right? They're 2 different people. However, you know what? One body can't use more than 1 paddle. So even though they're 2 people, they're 1 body. According to the rules, I think they have to use 1 paddle. And if they can only use 1 paddle, they would need another partner. So I think conjoined twins would get another person on their team. That's what I'm going with. 1 team, 3 social security numbers. Great. The best question of the week from Sophia. Chase asks, "Do you also make $1 million and don't care if you lose?" I do not make $1 million, and I definitely care deeply when I lose. Julie Plays Pickleball asks, "Is Ben Johns an indoor player now?" This is obviously in a little bit of jest to Ben because the conditions, the lighting was probably the worst lighting that we've had at a PPA tournament probably ever. I mean, there's conditions where like Atlanta, I think half of the lights went out and that was bad, but for the entire tournament, this was the worst one yet. And Ben won 2 out of 3, actually both of the disciplines that he entered, mixed doubles and men's doubles. So maybe he's figured something or another out, or maybe it just was never that big of an issue to begin with. Barry Foster Steinman asks, how is it that a 17-year-old with big ears is killing it in men's singles? We're going to chat about that. He's one of only a few, multi-time or multiple time in a row PPA champions. Jason A. Texan asks, what's up with the lobs and why is AB so good at them? Obviously, she's been grinding away at them, and there are certainly opportunities to lob. We saw a bunch from Christian. We saw a bunch from Anna Bright. And I do think part of it does have to do with the rollout courts. People are looking to take more and more balls out of the air because you know that you just can't attack once the ball is bounced. When people are leaning in, the opportunity to lob over the top of them presents itself a little bit better. Jason, you get one question per week, brother. Murray L. asked, when will Sophia Sewing come to MLP and PPA? She just won double gold on the APP tour. Quite honestly, it's probably not that long. The PPA and UPA just keeps poaching the top talent from the APP tour. I think the APP needs to start making better and more enticing offers to their stars if they want to keep them. So, I mean, at the current pace, I'd be surprised if she's not on the PPA by the beginning of next year. But, I think the APP needs to prevent against this. If they want to compete and if they want to keep stars on their tour. Teresa Tarn asks, Anna Lee mentioned a big side advantage in her post-finals interview. How does side advantage manifest in indoor settings and what can be done to neutralize them? I had a pretty brief stint in Las Vegas this week, but indoors, a lot of times the lighting can be off-centered, so one side can have better visuals than the other, and I'm sure that that's what she was referring to. Jack Sock also mentioned that the court was slightly off-centered, and one side had less space in the back, so that could be part of it as well. Stephen Neely asks, did Tyra and Georgia just start a rivalry? Let's hope so. Y asks, will Anna Lee drop Anna Bright? Asking for a friend? No chance. They're the best team. They lost obviously this weekend, but like there's no better partner for Anna Lee than Anna Bright. Missy Wizlocki asks, what's the beef between Caitlin and Tina? That was wild. I actually have legitimately no idea. I would love to know. I feel like both of those players are both people that are very professional and very, so that was really surprising for me to see. JC asked, when is Will Howells going to make his PPA Tour debut? He's easily a top 7 player in the world. I agree. I've been high on Willie for a long time. I know that he's, I believe, coming to the PPA Tour at the beginning of next year at the very latest, but hopefully a little bit earlier than that. John Wilkerson asks, what's one thing you'd change about pickleballs besides lighting them on fire that you think would make games more exciting? I mean, like maybe slowing them down slightly to have more of those prolonged hands battles. I do think a dual color ball could be interesting just to see how many revolutions are on certain shots. And then Comb Dog asks, is the prevalence of the lob here to stay? I think so. I think if you can get that lob into the back few feet of the court, even if they hit that overhead, it's a tough shot. And lobs are open if you know where to read them. I'm going to be putting out a offensive lobbing video on my YouTube channel pretty soon here coming up. So make sure to subscribe to Zane Average Pickleball on YouTube because we are going to break down the rise of the lob in professional pickleball and how you can stay up to date with modern pickleball as well. One other way that you can do that, this is going to be salesy a little bit, but I had a great time going to clinics at Bounce Pickleball in Malvern, Pennsylvania, at Montclair Pickleball in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and at Gotham Pickleball this past week in New York City. If you want to learn from me in person, shoot me a direct message on Instagram or reach out through the contact form of my website, which is zaneavertillpickleball.com or zaneavertillpickleball on Instagram, and I'll come teach you for myself. So, if you have a facility that would like to host me for some clinics, I love teaching online. I love teaching in person even more. So shoot me a message. Would love to come to your hometown and run some modern pickleball focused clinics. Boom. Let's get the T-Dog in here. All right, T-Dog, welcome back to more regularly scheduled programming. I'm back in my podcast studio. It feels good to be back home. It feels good to be chatting with you again after a kind of week off. Did you end up talking to Andre or no?
No, I didn't. No.
No? would have been nice to be able to.
Schedules just got like super busy, and we just couldn't make it work.
Yeah, I mean, it was a super quick turnaround from New York to Las Vegas. It would have been great to get somebody from the Sliders on. Obviously, I've been teammates with both. Actually, I've been teammates with Paris, Leia, and Andre before. Would have been nice to get one of them on, but alas, MLP is now long forgotten, and we have so much stuff to cover from the PPA in Las Vegas. I
Yep.
think we honestly probably want to start with some of the things that even happened pre-tournament.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we have the Christian Alshon and Lee Waters coaching breakup. Got any thoughts on that one?
I mean, you kind of saw it coming, right? With the whole debacle that Alshon had with you guys in MLP San Diego. Listen, it's hard when, like, I think Christian relied on Lee for like in-game adjustments and in-game hype, and just like, being that kind of a bench coach. And when you're she's doing that at a phenomenal level, like, I've never heard anybody be like, "Oh, Lee is not a great like, everybody says Lee is a great coach. So when she's doing that at 75% of your matches, that's really great. But when the other 25 are against her daughter and she's not coaching you, it's a problem, like, long term. So, but I think, Alshon handled that with class. His post was like heartfelt. It felt to me anyway. Sure, could he have just like made all those things up? Yeah, but like, he doesn't seem like the guy that would do that. I think it was a heartfelt, like, thank you. Like, this was an amazing experience, but like, time to move on. And that happens in sports all the time. So overall, I thought it was a good decision, because I think he needs to maybe he needs another coach, or maybe he needs to find his own way playing by himself or whatever. But I think that was like probably a mental block for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's tough when you come to sort of rely on somebody, and then all of a sudden, in your most important matches, you can't.
Right.
And as I joke about Christian, like, he gives me great content all the time, but Christian is just he's a very emotional and like really good dude when it comes down to it at the end of the day. Like, he wears his emotions on
Yeah.
his sleeve, and you kind of know what he's thinking at any given time. And I like that. He shows some like vulnerability too. And yeah, I think that I'm sure that all of that was very, very genuine from Christian. So
Yeah.
not really particularly surprising. Probably a decent move from both of them. So
Agreed. Yeah. What's next?
yeah. Well, we also had Christian deciding to pull out of singles, because, and you can read between the lines. He tweeted out something along the lines of like, I'm pulling out of singles, not because anything is wrong, but because I want to stay healthy. And obviously, we're playing on the rollout courts this week, so you can read between those lines.
Yeah, I didn't see the tweet, but that just gives me Marshawn Lynch, like, I'm not here to get fined type of vibes, which is one of the greatest memes of all time. And yeah, I mean, I don't blame anybody that's like super high level, that's playing in all three disciplines, and they don't feel very comfortable in certain situations with the rollout courts or with lighting or whatever. I don't blame them one bit for pulling out, especially just in singles.
Yeah, I mean, singles is just it's somewhat. I mean, like, didn't Jack Sock get hurt against Looch in his match? It seemed like he was.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was. I just heard that he was hobbling in
Yeah,
the third game, and obviously that could happen on any court surface. But like,
right.
it's pretty unanimous among pros that like this court surface is too textured, right? It's too gritty. There are these pockets in there that will catch your feet because they're not totally laid down against the ground. Like, every single pro hates using these rollout courts as much as humanly possible. Like, I don't think there's a pro that's like, yeah, these are great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have not talked to one pro that's like, yeah, rollout courts, yay. What I will say is, you and I have talked about this on the pod in the past few months. Like, I think rollout courts are good to get you into venues where you wouldn't normally get to, like the Las Vegas Convention Center, right? But if we're going to use them, then we need to come up with a better technology to have the surface be okay, meaning like build a platform, or I don't look, I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not smart. You have to find a way to make that surface be playable. Like, I mean, I watched some meme of like, a ball literally just on a side court, just falling onto a kitchen line and a sideline at the same time, and literally just fell and stayed there. And it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of pros, I was probably the most pro rollout court because it does allow us to go into cool places. I'm just curious because there are rumors behind the scenes that that rollout courts are gonna be phased out. But, I mean, to me, that eliminates several different iconic venues, right? Does that mean we're not going back to Central Park next year? Does that mean we're not going back to Chaifetz Arena or the LA Convention Center? Like, I think pretty much everybody could do without LA Convention Center, and maybe you can find a different spot in St. Louis to run the tournament. But like, I feel like the Woolman Rink Central Park is one that's really hard to give up. You know?
Agreed, 100%. And again, I don't like. There has to be some sort of engineering solution to put down a base so that you can then put down the rollout on it. And in PPA, if you're already playing with the lifetime ball, like that's going to bounce up fine on a rollout court. So it's like figure a way to make the base better, and then we can still use rollout courts wherever you want. I don't, yeah,
If you can turn a basketball court into a tennis court and then a hockey arena in like 72 hours, like we can figure this out. Like there's got to be a way to
agreed.
turn this into a pickleball court. But unfortunately, bad bounces and pickle roll wasn't or it's not pickle roll. They were very vocal about it not being pickle roll. Weren't the only problems in Vegas. We had awful lighting as well. It was
I
probably
heard
the
that
worst.
from multiple pros.
Yeah, it was borderline unplayable. Yeah, borderline unplayable. I do think that like certain courts were better than others. Some courts were really bad just based on where the lights were in the convention center and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's one that's just probably not happening again next year.
Agreed. Yeah, I think the tour as it goes, right? The tour like tries to expand and try different venues, and they're gonna miss on some of those expansion ones. Here in Phoenix, they outgrew the JW Marriott 2 years ago, and so it's like, okay, we figured that out now, and we'll move on and find another venue type of thing, and that's what happened with Tucson. So I definitely think lessons learned and move forward type of thing.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, let's go through the event, match day by match day. First off, we
Okay.
had Thursday was singles day. Early on in the day, we had Alex Crum defeating Federico Stocksrud again. They keep
Yeah.
playing in PPA tournaments. They played obviously during Crum's big run in Atlanta in May, and they play again in the second round here, and it's a 2-game win for Alex Crum. Do you think this says more about Alex Crum or Federico Stocksrud?
Oh, definitely Alex Crum, right? Like, Fed is very good. He's easily top 3, top 2, whatever Fed is very good. And I obviously Alex is very good. Watching that back, he has a ridiculous 2E drive that's insane. And so he's good, but like everybody's good now in singles. Like if somebody in the top 50 in singles wins, I'm like, oh, that was a good. There's obviously some better players and worse players in the top 50, but like somebody in the top 50 could basically win every weekend, and I wouldn't be like, oh my god, that's the craziest thing that happened. So, Alex is very good too, and if the ball isn't playing like Fed is one of, if not the best ball striker in men's singles, and if so, that goes back to the ball maybe not bouncing just perfectly or correctly. And then all of a sudden, Fed is missing some shots he wouldn't normally miss because he's such a clean ball striker. So those conditions don't favor Fed in that particular situation.
All right, I'm going to take the opposite effect. Federico
Go.
Stocksrud. I'm going to take the opposite side of that. I think this may say more about Federico, and I think that he
Eh,
is struggling to adjust to the lifetime ball. I don't think that the lifetime ball suits his playing style. I think that it suits players that take the ball and hit it a little bit harder. And Fed can hit the ball hard, but he's more of somebody that shapes the ball, and the lifetime ball
Agreed.
is a little bit more difficult to generate good spin on. It favors harder, flatter hitters, and Fed has built his entire game on being able to shape balls, hit hybrids that dip below the level of the net. And if we look at Fed's last few tournaments, we had Atlanta, where he fell to Alex Crum. The next one
Yep.
was PPA in San Clemente. He made it to the
Yep.
finals, where he lost to Hunter Johnson, and it was a bit of a spanking from Hunter. It was 2-5 in that
Yeah.
event. Next up is Bristol, where he loses to Gabe Joseph in the round of 16 or in the quarters, and that's not somebody that has been losing to over the last bit of time. And then finally back
Yeah.
to Alex Crum. Like, I yes, I think that Alex Crum is definitely going to become if he isn't already, a top 10 singles player. But I think we're seeing the simultaneous, kind of not downfall, but like Fed isn't an elite, clear number one player at this point, right? Without a doubt, he's top five still, but like the switch, I think hurts nobody more than Fed in singles.
How long do you think, like, okay, so put yourself in Fed's mindset with Fed's skill set. How long does it take Fed to adjust to the lifetime ball? Meaning, like, does he hit harder, straighter shots, or does he double down on getting more spin on the ball? Like, how does he do that, and how long does it take him to do that?
I think players are incredibly adaptable, actually. Like, certain metas will shift over time, but like you can get used to a ball in a couple of days. Think about it at the
Got it.
extreme, right? Like, I think Fed is used to this ball by now, but think about it in the extreme. Like, what if we played with a beach ball? Well, we would figure it out relatively quickly and get accustomed
Yeah.
to it. However, it would suit certain players' games more than it suits others. I think Fed's figured it out. I think it just doesn't fit as well with the skill set that he has. And he's going to have to change some of his tools slightly. Shots that worked previously aren't working as much anymore. And he's
Yeah.
basically just going to have to shift to more outright passing shots than those dipping, shaping passing shots, I think is the main thing.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
I caught a bunch of shit for when I was talking about how playing conditions affected the MLP finals. And I think that like rollout courts benefit some players over others. Certain balls benefit
Right.
some players over others. Like, I think
Right.
that the ball is the thing that we change around seemingly the most in professional pickleball, and it's just going to benefit some people's play styles better than others. Just like clay benefited Rafa Nadal and grass benefited Roger Federer, right? Like, it corresponds better with his skill set. But I also think that Fed is somebody that's good at figuring shit out. He's gonna make a good run once again.
Yeah, for sure.
So other stuff that we went through on Thursday, we had Jack Sock playing pretty well, moving quite well until he got seemingly hurt against Looch. And let's
Yep.
talk about Looch. Dude made it to championship Sunday and then obviously goes through the entire bracket, beating Hunter in 2 straight games. Is
Yep.
Looch, hey, where do you power rank him?
Oh, definitely top 10. We're doing the aliens are invading thing, right? That's your version of power ranking. I'm saying 7 to 5. And again, like to your point, it's based on conditions as well. But Luch, man, I I've watched him obviously, but like I really studied him during the Hunter match, and man, he covers the kitchen just about as good as anybody else. Like, he can cover the net so quick. He's got a ridiculous reach. He's like one of those, like, you know how NBA players are like, oh, I'm 6'6", but I have a 7'6" wingspan. He seems like he's one of those types of players where it's just like he can get to everything.
Yeah, 100%. When he first sort of broke on the scene, and I thought that his net play was, I still think his net play is the weakest part of his game. However, he is just so difficult to pass. Like, it would be interesting
Right.
to see how long his arms are, because he has. I've said it before, and I think I'm going to double down on it. I think he's the most complete player that we have in singles. So it'll be interesting now that he's won 2 events in a row to see how he
Yeah.
does as the hunted instead of the hunter, right?
Right.
It's a little bit easier to be, playing free, nothing to lose. You're playing against the brand new world number 1 singles player in Hunter Johnson. Like, He's got no pressure on him. Hunter's got all the pressure. Well,
Right.
now what? Comes Cincinnati, what are we looking at for Looch?
Yeah, he's gonna maybe be like first. He'll probably be the favorite up until at least the quarterfinals now. And even in the quarterfinals, he's probably going to be favored. So that is some added like mental pressure that he hasn't had to deal with yet.
Mhm. Yep. Only other thing to chat about on men's singles side is we had Chris Hayworth making his PPA debut, and he has or his UPA signing debut. He's played some previously,
Okay,
won some
yes, well
PPAs,
played.
but he is now an official member of the UPA. Lost
Yep.
to Hunter in I think the round of 16. That was a little murderer's row of ex APP players
Oof.
with Chris Hayworth, Grayson Golden, and Hunter Johnson all in that little part
Yeah.
of the draw. It'll be interesting to see how he fares because he hasn't been doing quite as well on the singles side of things at the APP tour.
I think he's going to go through what Hunter went through a little like maybe a year and a half ago when he signed. And, he was, I think Chris Hayworth was the 52 seed, which is absolutely ridiculous. And he'll start climbing the ranks very rapidly though. I do wonder how quickly he'll be able to get that done. Like you said, he didn't have, I mean, he had a ridiculous year long run on the APP tour that was just not sustainable, just like Fed last year. And so he had a few losses early or middle to early of this year on the APP tour. But I saw the fire in him again against Hunter. So I'm not so worried about that. I think he'll find his way on the PPA and be at least top 20 by the end of the year, maybe even higher.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he wasn't top 20 by end of year. All right, Friday we had mixed doubles. It was relatively uneventful. Only couple of ones were JW wasn't playing, so Georgia
Right.
Johnson partnered up with Jonathan Trong and had a nice
Uh-huh.
little run. I also didn't know that apparently they're dating.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, good for them. Do you have any idea why he decided not to play?
No, I didn't hear. I have no idea.
Yeah, I feel like they normally play just about everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if one of them now they do take tournaments off, but they're usually together. So it is a little weird that J Dub didn't play.
Right. The only other thing really that I had from Friday was the lob fest of Anna Bright. How many times do you think she
Yes,
lobbed Ben and Anna Lee in that mixed doubles semifinal?
I should know this answer because I just read Anna Bright's newsletter that landed like 2 hours ago. She does a great job, by the way, and I want to say it was like 17 or 18. Like it was an exorbitant amount of lobs.
Oh yeah, here it is.
So
Against Ben and AL, I lobbed 23 times, 13 successful,
okay,
4 neutral, and 6 bad.
I
That's
mean that's
got to
a
be
great ratio for lobbing. Like lobs, especially offensive lobs like she's hitting, are very risk versus reward type of thing. It's either like great or not. And to have a way over 50% number on that is absolutely insane. She was dialed there.
yeah, dang. Um, Lobs more and
23
more.
lobs in one match.
That's actually insane. Like, I feel like after a couple, you've got to be like, I don't know. She did say that they adjusted a little bit through,
Adjusted.
but man, that's impressive. It
Agreed.
is a little bit easier to lob in women's doubles, and then honestly, I find mixed doubles could potentially be the most lobbable place because the guys sometimes get themselves somewhat out of position in mixed doubles, leaving their space to lob. So I think this is the start of something a little bit bigger. You saw Christian hitting a bunch of lobs. I think I
Yeah.
saw
Yep.
Gabe hitting a couple of lobs. Um,
He did.
yeah, out of nowhere, everybody's lobbing these days. Now, for the people at home, coaching tip: these are offensive lobs from the kitchen. I get these questions all the
Yeah.
time. Why don't players lob from the baseline? Because the opponents have just too much time to react if you're far away. You lob defensively, just trying to get the ball back when your opponents are up the net and you are at the baseline. These are offensive lobs, and they're all done not out of while you're out of position. You're very much in position trying to gain an advantage from this lob. So don't try and throw these up on third shots or mid-court shots unless it's the only thing that you can do and be defensive. Do try to take these from a position of offense instead. So don't take this as I should lob more. Take it as look for
No,
more
yeah.
offensive lobbing opportunities.
And one thing, just to add to that, is Elise Jones is also known as one of the best lobbers in the game, and she talked about this ad nauseum a couple of times in her post-match interviews. She works really hard on making her lob look as much like her dink as she possibly can, so that when the lob does come, if you have that half a second where you recognize, oh, it's a lob coming, you can take a half a step back, at least one half step, and then all of a sudden your lob isn't going to be nearly as fruitful. So work on making your lob look exactly like your dink.
100%. So, all right, we'll go on to gender doubles on Saturday. That's where things started to get a little bit spicy. Gotta
It's
shout
spicy.
out Althoff Merchant and Steve Deacon
Yes.
upsetting Perez
Yes.
and Crum. And then having a pretty decent match against Hayden and Fed. Althoff getting into it, talking some shit. You love to see the old guys competing with the young guys. More Althoff and Deacon on center court, PPA.
For sure. Love it. Yeah, love it.
Did you catch the Travis and Julian match versus Alex Emery and Andre Millet at all? Or see any bits and pieces of it?
I make $1 million and you make nothing. I saw that part. Did you see that part?
I heard that part. That is
Yeah.
not good. Not a good
Not good.
not a good look.
No.
We're gonna chalk that up to, Julian just being pissed off, which I can understand, but I'm sure he's
Right.
regretting that statement. Doesn't make him look good. Now, I can get being pissed. It did look more likely than not that the ball did hit that guy. I didn't even know whether that was Alex or Andre. It looked like it probably did, but a lot of times if it does hit the shirt, you really don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially you're moving around, it hits your shirt, like if it hits your body, right? If it hits your shoulder, if it hits
For sure.
your body, if it hits your shirt while you're moving around, and like you really actually don't know. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation for Alex and Andre, and don't think Julian and Travis handled it particularly well, because it's like, what is the guy supposed to do?
Yeah, if he didn't feel it truly, then yeah, what is he supposed to do? Plus, to your point, he was like trying to move back and like kind of scoop. So his body weight was already going back, and if his shirt is kind of forward, there's a very good possibility where it did clip the shirt and he didn't feel it, like you said. And yeah, I don't think Julian and Travis think they handled it that way. I think I saw Travis on social media like kind of apologizing afterwards and said he should have handled it better. And I mean, listen, they lost that match, but like you can't let something that trivial on like 1 point upset your whole entire match or your whole entire day because of that. And I think it probably got the better of them like mentally on that one.
Then again, both of those guys are a little bit McEnroe-like and can play a little bit better.
Yeah.
Sometimes they like look for an enemy in order to sort of fire up a little bit. So, but I mean, these guys must be pretty
they're
good.
both
If they're beating.
Travis and Julian. They like to find a way to like get angry and get themselves pumped up, but then they also both have this, oh, we're going here, and then all of a sudden if it gets too hot, all of a sudden their level goes way down too.
Yeah, a balance.
Yep.
All right, Saturday on the women's side, all of a sudden Tina and Caitlin Christian have some drama. They were yapping at each other out of seemingly out of nowhere. They were teammates, obviously, like 2 weeks ago on the Texas Ranchers, and still technically are. We have another event for MLP in either October or November. Like, do you have any idea what was going on there? That seems like two of the most like well liked and like more reasonable people all of a sudden going at it.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on there. I asked a couple of people, but like I didn't hear anything. I don't know. I've never seen Caitlin like she'll go like, yeah, come on, or whatever, but like I've never seen her get into it with anybody. So I don't know. It was just a weird like no paddle tap. It was an obvious no paddle tap. It was like I don't like you. I don't like you. And I don't know what happened there. But the funny thing is, you brought up the, like, what is that called? The MLP Cup in, like, November. I don't think teams are allowed to make any player trades, so
Correct.
should be interesting.
Yeah, correct. And then obviously, other interesting part is Anna Lee and Anna Bright are upset by Tyra and Georgia.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to take an L on this one. I thought it was about I thought it was reasonable to believe that they wouldn't drop a game for the rest of the year. I said if it was gonna be to anybody, it was gonna be to Tyra and Georgia, and here we are. They
That
had
part
an
was right.
entire match dropped. So, T-Dog, what's your analysis on that?
So, a few things. I got some stats from Ben at Real Clear Stats on this match, which were super insightful. But if you've ever seen stats from Ben at Real Clear Stats, there's a ton of stats. And it's like, okay, what is important here? What is not? So a few things that I saw that were just interesting to me. And I'll go quick through these. Zane, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. Did you see the stats?
No.
Okay, great. There were 101 third shots hit in between all three matches of, or all three games of this match. Okay, 101. Guess how many were made?
Uh, 98.
100.
Okay.
Tyra missed one in the first game, and no one missed a single third after that. Now, could their third have been high or whatever? Yeah, sure. But like, they were in both second and third games, everybody was 100% on their thirds, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, the points were crazy. Like every single point was a highlight point.
Yeah. It was like everybody seemed to be playing at their best level or very close to it, and it was like riveting to watch. So Anna Lee and Anna won game one, and then all of a sudden it looked like, ooh, this could be bad. And Tyra and Georgia came out firing in game two. And speed up at Tyra at your own risk, because she was sped up at, every time she was sped up at, 72% of the time she neutralized or won on her counters. Like, if you're speeding up from a bad spot at Tyra, that is recipe for disaster.
Yeah. I actually did a pretty deep dive into into this match on my on my YouTube channel and on the Las Vegas recap. Early in the match, they found some success going to Georgia's forehand with the speed ups, and that was game one, right? They did a pretty good job of finding that spot. Tyra and Georgia did a really good job of adjusting and actually hitting more push dinks and not giving the same angles, right? Early in the match, they were giving dead dinks over to the left-sided player's backhand, opening up Georgia's forehand for an attack.
Yep.
They did a really good job of adjusting and making sure that if they went to that spot, it was a push dink. Let's force Anna Lee and Anna Bright to hit flicks instead of hitting off-bounce speed-ups over there. So they really hit more push dinks and then looked to be a little bit more aggressive out of the air, too. And Georgia, of the four of those players, possesses the best ability to attack out of the air, and those flicks were working very, very well, too. What else did Ben have?
Game three came down to Tyra and Georgia then actually sped up more, and they won 60% of the time. And I don't think Anna Bright and Anna Lee had their best game in that game three. They had, I don't know if I've ever seen like those two have 6 unforced errors in a game versus only 2 from Tyra and Georgia. Also,
they started
Tyra and
pressing
Georgia,
a little bit more for offense. They couldn't get anything going offensively, and so they were taking opportunities that just weren't their norm.
Yeah, and if we've talked about this a lot, but I just want to say, like, Anna Lee is the best speeder upper off of the bounce in the women's game by far. And when the ball just isn't sitting up as high, it's much more difficult for her to do that. Like, it, so I think all of those factors go into it.
Yeah, definitely. I hope that, I mean, I've said it the entire time since Anna Bright and Anna Lee got together. I do hope that Tyra and Georgia play together, because I think that's going to be the closest thing that we can get to a rivalry. I'm going to double down. I don't think that Anna Bright and Anna Lee lose another match this year. I'm doubling down on it.
Wow.
I think that conditions were favorable for Tyra and Georgia. Like, I'll catch shit for that statement, but it is what it is. I think that the rollout courts benefit them more. I'm not taking anything away. look, I don't want people to construe this as me taking away anything. They had to win this match. They played better in the conditions, right? Like, they did. It's a win. And any win over Anna Lee and Anna Bright is incredible. I do think the conditions were favorable for them. Like, that's, I'm just certain I'm going to catch crap for that. But again, like, to say that conditions don't impact play one way or another, I think is pretty ignorant. It'd be like saying that conditions don't affect play in tennis. You just never would say that. It doesn't take anything away from the win, but it's a fact.
Yep.
So I'm doubling down on, I think Anna Lee and Anna Bright are going the rest of the season undefeated still. But
Are we going double or nothing on our lunch bet, or where does that put our lunch bet? Because I'll take another loss.
I'll double up for it.
Done.
All right, deal. Sweet. I have to run, so we're gonna speed run through the rest of this a little bit. But Ben and Anna Lee ended up stopping Tyra and Hayden's finals run in 4 games. I like Tyra and Hayden together as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Caitlin Christian and Kate Fahey played an incredible 3-game singles match, 9-11, 11-9, 11-9, and that's been kind of overshadowed by all the other stuff that happened this weekend. Tyra and Georgia carried the momentum to beat Paris and Catherine in 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Looch took out Hunter, the number 1 singles player in straight games, joins an elite group of back-to-back winners, and the men's doubles final was unbelievable quality for 2 of the 4 games. Andre and Christian win the first game 12-10, lose a game point at 10-9 in game 2, and things just unraveled from there.
Yeah, I've as soon as Andre hit that ATP into the post, I was like, oh no, the momentum could swing very quickly here, and swing it did very quickly after that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, T-Dog, why don't you tell the people about PPA Asia, APP Chicago, and make sure that they hear about that. But I got to run.
Okay, yeah. So, Zane, we talked about this, but I'll talk about the PPA Asia event that happened this weekend and the APP Chicago, just to give everybody a quick recap. PPA Asia was at Fukuoka in Japan. CG, Connor Garnett, triple crowned. He beat Fukuoka in singles, won in mixed with Elise Jones, and won men's doubles with Tyler, his normal partner on the PPA tour. Some big names actually from the PPA Trailblazers were in attendance and participated in this one. If you don't know about the Trailblazers, just go to the Dink website and type in Trailblazers. It was a really cool program that the PPA Asia Tour put on, where young up-and-coming Asian players came over to the States for 3 months and trained with Jordan Briones in Arizona, and then they played in a bunch of different tournaments here, and now they're back in Asia playing on the PPA Asia Tour. So that was a really cool program. Couple of players in that program also did well in Japan. Jamie Wei, who is from Chinese Taipei, she played her college tennis at Temple. She has a master's degree in sports management from Temple. She was this close from triple crowning herself. She won women's doubles with Yufei Long, another UPA Trailblazer. So those are 2 up-and-coming women on the PPA Asian Tour that I would not be surprised to see sign in the States within the next year or so, and regularly playing on the PPA Tour and MLP. So keep an eye out for them. In terms of APP action, the APP was in Chicago this weekend. Sophia Seving and Shelby Bates upset Megan Fudge and Jill Braverman in the final, and Seving also won singles for, I don't know, the 5th time or so this year. Will Howells and Jack Monroe beat Eric Lang and Purple Jesus. But the bigger storyline in men's doubles was the day before in the semis, Eric Lang and Purple Jesus against Richard Livernees Jr. and Tanner Tomasi, who had just won back-to-back men's doubles events. There was a ball that was Eric Lang hit probably 5 inches in, and Tanner was kind of turning around. Richard couldn't see it well, and they called it out. There are no replays on the APP Tour up until Championship Sunday. Championship Sunday, they have replays, but no replays before that. So, or video challenges is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, they called it out. There was some hemming and hawing. Not a great look, but also to the players, on behalf of the players, it's hard when there is no replay. But and Richard and Tanner were seen kind of trying to pump themselves up after that. But it seemed like it was a little bit more chirping than necessary. And it's weird when Eric Lang is mad on a pickleball court. So that was just a weird situation there. Let's see what else. APP. Oh, not related to pro. Terrell Owens. Yes, the Hall of Fame football player. Played APP Chicago at the 4-0 level in 35 plus mixed and went 2-3. Really cool to see him playing pickleball and out and about with the pickleball community. And yeah, I mean, I saw one clip of him and I think he got to the kitchen line from the baseline in like 1.5 steps, which, yeah, not a lot of us have that athleticism in pickleball. So really cool to see him out there. Oh, also, there is a rivalry and a race kind of happening between Sophia Seving and Megan Fudge. Seving has 14 medals this year, 9 are gold. Fudge has 16 medals this year, so she has more medals, but 8 are gold. So we'll see who is crowned the queen of the APP Tour at the end of the year. Seving started the year as basically a singles specialist, but has now really upped her doubles game. Her and Casey Diamond won mixed at the last event, and her and Shelby Bates won women's at this event. So her doubles game is coming along very well, as well as her singles game. And so with that covers the PPA Asia and the APP Chicago. This upcoming week, we have no pro pickleball to my knowledge, which is actually crazy. So we have a weekend off. Thank goodness for that. We've had, it seems like 17 weekends in a row. And the PPA Tour is back in action the following weekend at the Cincinnati Slam, which is worth 2,000 points, double a normal open. So all the players will be playing and a lot on the line there. And that's it. Pickle Pot. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie,